Amelia, you've got a great secret for confidence, which
Do I?
which you told me all about, which is living in celebrity energy or stepping
Yes.
into celebrity energy.
Yes.
And that's something you're doing now. You're always someone that drives yourself forwards.
Yeah.
So now you're living in celebrity energy. I love this as a concept. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I have this kind of theory that when you meet a celebrity of any kind, if you've ever met anyone quite well known, typically what they do is they make you feel good. It's not about like you making them feel good and basking in the attention they're getting, or can I get a picture with you? They don't thrive in that. They thrive in the interaction with you and you feeling incredible that you got to have an interaction with them. And when I look at like narcissists, if you want to give like a better word, that we see a lot of online and
relentless narcissism content online.
Yeah, right. This sort of like really like ego fulfilling content where it's all about them and this is what I'm doing and aren't I great and all of that kind of stuff. And I understand why people do that because it does get a lot of attention and people follow that type of content. But that type of energy is very much like your attention makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been doing for a while, but haven't really given like a name to it now. So now I call it like live in your celebrity, like it's the celebrity energy theory. If you approach your life and your content and any interaction you have with people as what can I do to make this person feel amazing about this interaction? Like even little things like when I got my coffee this morning from Starbucks in Houston, the guy said, what can I get you? And I was like, oh, I'd love a cappuccino, please. And he was like, great. And I was like, how are you doing? And he was like, yeah, great. Thanks for asking. And I was like, good, have a good day. And carried on. And he might not necessarily have understood that interaction, but it's made him feel like that is a conscious thing. You can call it strategy or not, but I do that consciously. Like I'm trying all the time to make someone else feel good.
Yeah.
Because I think if you can do that in all your tiny little interactions in your life, that compounds into quite a big effect. So call it celebrity energy, call it whatever you want. But when you take that approach to your life, your content, your interactions, your friendships, strangers, whatever, that has a compound effect on every other part of your life. And I don't think it's a surprise that I've ended up having amazing opportunities off the back of kind of trying to make my interaction with everyone as nice as humanly possible.
And you also make sure you have a lot of interactions, don't you? I know from your content, you try and meet new people all the time and spend with no goal other than they're interesting.
Think I'm mad. Yeah. So I'd have this kind of KPI where I have to DM 10 strangers every month. And normally I get ignored by at least 5. They're like, what's she selling? That's just a bit weird. 3.
What do you say?
I'm just like, hi, I came across your profile. This is really cool. And I normally find people interesting for some reason.
Yeah,
so I'd say why I found that person particularly interesting, or we have a mutual contact or something like that. And I'm normally like, look, this might sound really weird, and I promise I'm not like a stalker, but I really love meeting people in real life. So would you mind if I took you for a coffee and we could just meet up? Some people think I'm mental, other people think I'm selling, and they go, I'm not interested. And normally about 2 or 3 people will go, actually, that's really cool. Like, yeah, I would love to. And I've made friends that way. I've made business contacts that way. I've ended up having brand partnerships that way. I've also been invited to like random supper clubs and dinners and all kinds of stuff that way. And I think, sure, it's a way of networking and it's a way of kind of meeting new people, but actually what it's done is it's given me just loads of confidence to be able to do whatever I want. Because if I can DM 10 strangers who think I'm crazy for messaging them and go and meet them, I try to, every month, doesn't always work out into like the 2 or 3 coffees happening in that month. Like diaries are nuts, right? But it does eventually kick on. So I've had 3 coffees this month, one with the most incredible woman who, you know, I won't say her name, but has an OBE. Like, she's the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life. And I literally DM'd her on LinkedIn and I was like, I think you're fab. You went through a divorce, looked like it sucked. My divorce sucked too. I was like, would love to take you for a coffee. And she was like, yeah, I would love to. And I was like, she replied, okay, cool, when can you be?
Oh, so, that's brilliant. As soon as I heard that, I thought that is definitely something I need to do, is do that. It sounds like a fantastic thing to be doing and meeting loads of new people that way.
Yeah.
And Alina, in terms of your work, you have 8 A's of audacious leadership. What can people watching today take away in terms of taking some of your frameworks into their own life, whether in a small everyday way or in a big way, so that they can move towards the goals they've got, which they don't feel audacious or confident enough to move towards without that framework?
So yes, there are 8 A's of Audacity, effectively, and they all start with an A. And that's a little story in there. It's interestingly, when I was pitching my first book, and even to this publisher, I said, I want to have the book with most A's in it. And that was, of course, crazy. And they said no to that. As I'm teaching people,
I have the same story, but mine were swear words.
And then but they accepted that I have all the chapters starting with an A. So I have attunement, which is the first one, which is, really the ability to slow down, to feel your own feelings, but also to tune into others' feelings. Then you have the acknowledgement, which is, again, the ability to know your own strengths and your weakness, and then accept them both equally. Then you have the assurance, which is the courage to say yes to all of these opportunities. The assertiveness, which is the courage to say no, and that's probably one of the most difficult ones for us that I had to learn. Then you have authenticity, which is the courage not to care about what other people think. It is just having that, telling the truth, your own truth, and truth to power. Then you have advocacy, which is when you care so much about someone or something that you move mountains effectively.
Yeah.
And then the adaptability, which is the courage to let go and let be, the flexibility. And finally, my most favorite one is the appreciation, which is really seeing the positive in life, even in the most difficult moments. And there is a quiz, and actually there is a free quiz that anybody can do online, and you can find where you are on that Audacity star. I call it a star because it's a North Star, because you've got the 8 peaks. So you could see what is your superpower. For me, assurance, because I lead with yes. I say yes to everything, almost to a fault.
Yeah.
So you see where you are in terms of your peaks, and then where do you need maybe to stretch in some of the other ones. But yeah, I mean, someone was saying to me, oh, Alina, what about agency? It's like, oh, that's a really great A, because you need agency. You need to be able to make choices wherever you are on those
And feel
A's.
you can make them from yourself.
Yeah.
And of all those A's that you've just laid out there, which one is the most important? Or are you going to say they're all important?
Of course, they're all important. I mean, it's easy. We all have our own favorites. The one which I struggle the most, even today, is this ability to say no. I'm very, very proficient as accepting no. So you can give me any no's all day long. I have no problem. Actually, giving a no, that is still quite a challenge. And I always say it comes probably from, so the story, the inspiration for the book is my son, who is on the autistic spectrum. And if you know anybody on the spectrum, they actually physically cannot hear no. So he's been my best student and actually my best teacher in learning how to say no to someone who will not accept it first time. And there's a whole page of, you can actually say no by not saying no. It's like, yes, but can we do this later? And so that's probably the one that I'm still, it's my favorite, because it's the road to mastery is a road, and I'm still practicing. The one that was the most difficult one to write was the attunement. It wasn't in the first script. The attunement, I only had 7 A's originally, and because the 7 I thought was my lucky number, so I was going to go with 7. And then the editor said, Alina, I think you need an 8th A. And I said, oh, you need the one that will capture the whole emotional intelligence, which you've been working with, the whole feelings. And she said, you need to write this attunement, which became the first chapter. And it took me the most time to write. It took me as long to write that one chapter as it took me to write all of the other. And I still remember, are you kidding me, having to do this? But I'm so grateful to her for making me write it.
Yeah.
Because not only, it was a huge period of self-reflection for me, but it allowed me to do this Audacity star all of a sudden. So the framework came from that, being open-minded and being challenged and being okay in the outside of the comfort zone. And so, it's probably one that it's most intimate, it's the most difficult one to teach, I think, the attunement piece.
Great. So as we wrap up, final piece of advice from both of you. For somebody to take a step towards their most courageous, confident, audacious self, what's the one thing you think they should do, Amelia?
I think action beats strategy every time. Like, I can give you every strategy, every hack, this is how I did it, this is how you should do it. But actually, unless you're willing to take that step yourself, it's almost impossible for you to get anywhere in life. Whether it be, getting out the starting blocks on your race, or whether it be, doing something like this, or whatever, even just asking someone on a date, or saying hi to the guy that gave you the coffee this morning. Like, you have to take that action. And I think I've learned something today, which is the courage thing. Like, it really is courage. You only have to have the courage to do one thing. That's it. Because that one thing becomes so many other things.
Yeah.
So I would normally swear, but I would say just do it. Like, just do it.
And Alina?
It would be the same. For me, it's actually making audacious requests. So, and this is a great example, your role model, Amelia, because it's just asking someone, it feels uncomfortable, but see what comes and be okay with the no. I'm talking to myself. We always say, just be willing to hear 1,000 no's, and actually the 1,001 yes, it's going to be phenomenal. If you're willing to send, however, 10, and you get 2 out of 10 every month, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's the thing. That's how you do build it. And be kind in the process. I love your story. And to me, it doesn't take anything to make someone feel good.
But also makes you feel good.
Of course.
And that's actually very attractive. Like, you speak about authenticity, like when you really lead with that, that's so magnetic to people. There's even a scientific study done that measures the frequency of energy that we emit. You know, authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than love and hate. So when you lead with like genuine care and like really who you are, you might be judged for it, sure, but like how powerful is that? Like, that opens up doors that you just don't have access to.